Coming up in just a few minutes, Richard Gage. If you don't know who he is, you're about to find out. Big hit piece attacking him with disinfo, and the entire 9/11 Truth Movement is airing every other day, it seems, premiering last week on the National Geographic Channel. That's coming up in a moment. But I wanted to get into this situation with the president 2 weeks ago. His office, the Department of Education, his education czar, sent out federal mandate to schools taking any federal funds. And we've shown the official letterhead and read it, and the White House doesn't deny that, saying that if you take federal money, you've got to make your school children watch this telecast of the president, literally like 1984 on the big screen projector. In fact, we have an article up on prisonplanet.com Paul Watson wrote where it shows Obama as Big Brother. It's over in the News and Focus section if you want to go look at it on the right-hand side of prisonplanet.com. I mean, this is right out of Nazi Germany, Soviet Russia. Now, then they removed those areas of the curriculum saying how you're going to help the president, how you're going to write letters explaining how you're going to serve him, creating this weird relationship with the president, this hyper authority figure reaching out to your kids. This isn't George Bush Sr. giving a 1991 speech saying stay off drugs, stay in school. Then Obama shifts gears, changes the story, and says, well, we're not going to do that now. And then a few days later, they say, we were never going to do it. It's a conspiracy theory. And now he's going to give a milquetoast speech. Don't use drugs. Make good grades. You can be successful. But this is the takeover of education. I mean, we played the clips last week. I've been playing them every week for months. I'm not going to play them again today. You can search engine Barack Obama calls for national security force, just as big, just as strong as our military. And then his White House chief of staff introduced the bill to make everybody from junior high to 65 serve in different brigades with weapons, in uniforms domestically. I mean, you can't make this up. In fact, scroll down for folks that are watching on prisonplanet.tv. It's Indoctrination of Obama Youth in Schools Accelerates is our article. And in the article, we have all the clips right there for everybody, where you can watch the video clips of Barack Obama saying it and doing it, everybody pledging to serve him, and they mix it in with the civil rights movement. It's all very deceptive. And I was just playing Van Jones saying we're going to have total wealth redistribution. And see, there on screen are the youth in the uniforms training and chanting his name. So that's what it is. We're going to Richard Gage in just a moment. Lastly, go ahead and finish up Van Jones. He didn't get kicked out for being a 9/11 truther. He got kicked out for saying, I'm a communist. The green jobs is to take over your life for total wealth redistribution. Here he is, Van Jones.
We're going to push it and push it and push it until it becomes the engine for transforming the whole society.
My guest has been Van Jones, founder and president of Green for...
In fact, back it up about a minute. I want listeners, because we ended the hour with that, and we're going right to Richard Gage. I want listeners to hear this, because he already says redistribution of wealth, and then he says incremental takeover, deception. Here it is.
Colonel, that eventually meant that from 1954 to 1968, complete revolution was on the table for this country. And I think that this green movement has to pursue those same steps and stages. Right now we're saying we want to move from suicidal gray capitalism to some kind of eco-capitalism where, at least we're not, fast-tracking the destruction of the whole planet. Will that be enough? No, it won't be enough. We want to go beyond systems of exploitation and oppression altogether. But that's a process. And I think what's great about the movement that's beginning to emerge is that the crisis is so severe in terms of joblessness, violence, and now ecological threats that people are willing to be both very pragmatic and very visionary. And,
all right. That's enough. The point is he admits they're incrementally doing this with deception. Now, he was already going to have to resign over saying shut down talk radio, get rid of free speech. Republicans are all these cuss words, black supremacist statements about whites being the devil. But then he also signed some 9/11 truth statement. They're trying to use that to demonize 9/11 truth and say, oh, look, he's unpopular because of this. No, New York Times poll 3 years ago, 84% believe the government's lying about 9/11. I just read to you 7 of the 10 commission members saying it was a whitewash and a lie, and there needs to be a new investigation. Now, for the next 50 minutes, for the balance of the show here, I want to welcome San Francisco Bay Area architect Richard Gage, Architects and Engineers founder. He's an AIA member of the American Institute of Architects and founder of Architects and Engineers 9/11 Truth. Now with well over 800 members calling for a new investigation into the destruction of the 3 World Trade Center high-rises on 9/11. And he is on with us today. Very honored to have him to talk about all these big TV hit pieces coming out against him. I think he did the best job on the show of all the people that were on it. And I really appreciate Richard Gage coming on with us. Richard, good to have you here.
Thank you, Alex. It's my honor.
We're going to break here in a few minutes, but just in a nutshell, this National Geographic piece, I mean, they shot a missile into a chicken coop and said that a missile would have blown up the entire Pentagon. They just, I mean, the whole thing, I mean, as an architect and an engineer, what did you think of this?
Well, they were doing their job, Alex. They set up a piece that was designed to quell the truth and to not display any of the evidence, really, that we had brought into the interview. So there is a whole lot to discuss here, and I'm looking forward to taking it piece by piece with you, but certainly it was extremely unscientific and composed of these 3 ridiculous so-called experiments, more like magic tricks than anything else.
Well, I mean, there's so many points, but then they also examine our psychology, like we're mentally ill and schizophrenic. Psychology Today has a big cover story on me saying the Bilderberg doesn't exist, and, you know, I go to these hotels and cover the global elite and have full-born hallucinations. That's not going to work. They also say in the piece that the government's never changed its story, and the 9/11 Commission's never changed its story. I just read quotes of 7 of the 10 members saying it was a complete and total fraud.
Yeah, and that it was. That's given. In fact, Max Cleland was one of them, and he resigned, citing this is a national scandal. The investigation is compromised.
Yeah, that's an exact quote from the Washington Post. Well, when we come back, I'm going to try to sit back, Mr. Gage. We're going to punch your website up on screen, go over the debunking of the thermite, the thermate, the collapse, all of it, whatever areas as a architect and engineer who builds large buildings, and plus the other 800 members that you have of what really happened. Then we're going to play some clips of this. But as we go to break, I just want to point out that I've seen the thermite reactions that Professor Jones of BYU, now retired, has done. I mean, a small cup of real thermite goes right through an engine block. NASA admits they use it for the coupler separators, not even explosive thermite, and they put 100 and something pounds on a column, and it barely even sparkles like a regular sparkle. I dare say that wasn't real thermite.
Oh, interesting. Well, even if it was real thermite, it needs to be contained in order to be effective. And so we know, for instance, in 1984, interestingly enough, there was a patent for a thermite cutter charge that ejected molten iron in just thousandths of a second, making it more effective than normal cutter charges with high-energy explosives like C4 and RDX. Not only that, another patented device is the shell casing of these cutter charges is consolidated thermite. It is self-consuming, so that the only product left behind in the residue is molten metal.
And you gave all that to National Geographic, and they laugh at you and Professor Jones and others and just laugh and say there's no such thing as it. I mean, it's insane. There are all these patents. The Pentagon's involved. Just so happens some of the NIST investigators are world experts in explosive thermite. Working on the towers. We'll be right back.